Today we're going to talk about the Reolink RLC-511WA camera here. Reolink sent me this camera asking if I would take a quick look at it and talk about it on one of my videos, which is what I will do today. They had no input into the video, and they have no knowledge of what I'm about to say before I release the video. So it's my opinion on the camera. Spoiler alert, it's a good camera. So I really enjoy the camera, and I will take you through the settings. I will take you through some video that I shot with the camera, both day and nighttime. And then we'll talk briefly about Frigate and how I've got that installed in Frigate, and answer any questions you have in my comments. So let's get started. And by the way, if you want to purchase this camera, there will be a link down below that will give you a little bit of a discount for Black Friday as of the recording of this video. If it's this is 2021, so it's Black Friday 2021, the week of Black Friday. If you want to buy the camera at a discount, there's a link down below for that as well. Let's get started, jump into the camera and the options and see what we can do with it. Before I show you the actual camera, I want to talk about some specs first. So let's go into their website, the Reolink website, and we'll talk about this camera specifically. This camera here has a spotlight and a siren that you can enable if somebody walks up and motion is detected. You can either do it manually or trigger off of the motion detection. It has two-way audio, so you can listen and talk back to whoever's out there. It has 5 megapixel Super HD, so this is a random picture that someone had sent in to Reolink. It has dark, black, and white, so it will do spotlighting when it's dark outside and record in full color. And I'll show you a little bit about what that looks like here in a minute. It has 5 little spotlights on it up to 100 feet away. It'll do dark and black, or it'll do dark and black and white. So it has a spotlight, 5 little spotlights built into it that'll give you up to 100 feet of illumination to help give you nighttime pictures in full color. 5 times optical zoom. It has a motorized lens that has a viewing angle of 27 to 96 degrees with a 5 times optical zoom. It allows you to zoom in and see a little more detail. And then the motorized lens is 2.7 to 13.5 millimeters. You can do time lapses on it. I haven't done a time lapse yet, but you know, we've all seen time lapses. It'll take a long-term time lapse video for you to play back later and do something with. It has dual band Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz. It has two T2R, two transmit to receive MIMO antennas. It switches between 2.4 and 5 gig as necessary. A lot more stuff here. It's wireless. It can be wired as well. It has an Ethernet port, and that's how I initially set it up. Again, 2.4 and 5 gig. It has the two T2R MIMO antennas, and then it says it'll reach up to 164 feet away from the AP in open areas. You can do remote control. You can view real-time alerts, live view from anywhere, including Windows, easy and smart playback, and you can set up motion zones and all kinds of privacy zones and everything else. You have multiple recording options. It supports 24/7 continuous, movement triggered, and scheduled recordings. All three types can be saved on the SD card, the Reolink NVR, or an FTP server. And you can choose the way you set that up. But you can get up to 145 hours on a 256 gig SD card. And of course, the figure is based on the default bit rate of 4096 kbps. It's a IP66 certified waterproof. It's designed to be outdoors. That's what it's made for. And then if you have some of these assistants, you can use those as well. So those are the specs on the camera. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into the app, and I'll show you how that works. Now the app, actually, they have a Windows app, and they have obviously the tablet or phone apps. I'm going to use the Windows app to show you this because it's a lot easier to demonstrate it this way. The settings and configurations on the app are about the same. They're just in different places. So this is the Windows app. And the first thing we do is we want to connect to the camera. And if you, by default, when you set this up, if it sees a camera on the network, it's going to find it automatically. And the way I did this was I set up the camera with an Ethernet connection first. It got an address from my DHCP server on my network, and then it showed up here. I didn't have to do anything crazy like log into a web browser on the camera and do anything with that. Automatically showed up, and then I went through and I configured it. And the configuration settings are pretty simple. Or I'll actually take that back. Configuring settings are as detailed as you want to make them. You can flip the camera display. You can mirror the display. So if your camera is upside down, you can flip it and it will actually flip the camera display over. If you want to mirror it, flip it the other way horizontally, you can do that as well. You can show the camera name or hide it. You can select the different areas where the camera goes. You can put the date and time in different areas on the camera or hide it altogether. You can add a watermark. If you want to do anti-flicker, you can do that. If you're seeing flicker on the camera, you can set it to either 60 hertz or 50 hertz or other, which I don't know what other does. And then just turn it off entirely. Day and night gives you an option for auto, color, or black and white. I'm going to leave it at color, and I'll show you why here in a little bit. And then you can set up privacy masks. So let's say I don't want to see this house right here. I can set a privacy mask right here, save it. And now if I go look at the live view on the camera, that area should be masked out. And now I can't see anything that's going on right there at that house. So you can set up to 4 privacy masks on here. So that's easy to do as well. There's some advanced settings, brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpness. I'm going to leave all those as default. Now your stream, you have a couple options. This is what I call the main stream. They call it clear, and the substream, which they call fluent. And so my fluent is 640 by 480 at 10 frames per second with a max bit rate of 256K. And then my resolution here is full 256. Well, you can go higher than this. I chose 2560 by 1440 because it gives it kind of an HD wide angle or wide view for filming. But you can go up to 2560 by 1920. That's kind of more of a square looking picture. And then you can set up your frame rate up to 30 frames per second, your max bit rate up to 5120. I'll leave it at the default of 4096. Your detection alarms, you can set up detection zones. So I can come over here and create no alarm zones to reduce false alarms. So if I don't want to be alerted when this tree is moving, for example, I can create this zone here, and I can go ahead and make that area a no detection zone. It's kind of backwards to me. But this is an area I'm masking out for detecting motion. I don't want alarms or motion or anything here. Anyway, you can do that there and then save it. You can create whatever areas you want for that. And then you can set up motion detection sensitivity. It's just a slider. And it's interesting. I like this because it shows you as you go here that camera at medium sensitivity is moderately sensitive to changes such as pets and dubious people. You can get down even farther, and it kind of gives you an idea. Camera at lower sensitivity only detects motion of bigger objects such as running cars and people nearby. So I can go to max here. At higher sensitivity, detects every small change in the field of view, such as a sneaky person at a distance. And you can change these based on the time period. So I could add an additional time period and change my sensitivity during that time period. And I'll tell you the reason why that's important is at nighttime, you may have a different sensitivity requirement than during the day, especially if you have a bunch of shadows and things going across. You don't want to have false detection. You can set a different type of sensitivity for the daytime versus the nighttime. So there's that. Smart detection. This is kind of neat too. For cars and vehicles, each one has its own setting. And as you move the slider, you can see what happens here in the picture. It gets a little more washed out or a little more pixelated. So it's going to detect people with low similarity to persons versus going this direction, which means it only detects people with high similarity appearance to a person. And then you can go in between anywhere in there. And so you can set this, if you're not getting people detection, you can set it a little more sensitive. If you're getting too many objects that are thinking they're people, actually you go this way for that. If you want it to only detect people and have fewer false positives, you go this way. And if you want to detect more stuff, you go that way. And the same thing with vehicles. You can see that I want to detect everything that kind of looks like a vehicle, or I definitely only want to detect vehicles. And the picture gives you an indication of what it's going to look like here. Finally, you can also set up object size. So you have object size here that allows you to set an object size that is smaller than the minimum object size or bigger than the maximum object size will not trigger the alarm. So anything here that is smaller than this size will not trigger, and anything bigger than this size will trigger or will not trigger. So it has, you can set something, you can set it in a window of size so it doesn't trigger when objects are too big or too small. Now, again, a lot of this I'm going to do with Frigate, so I'm not going to worry about these settings. But if you're using the camera by itself for triggering, then you can set all of this up. Audio and light. You can record audio or not. You can adjust the alarm and speaker volume. So when it's playing out to people or setting the alarm off, you can set the volume there. Your infrared lights can either be off or on, and it gives you kind of an idea here what that looks like when you have them on or off. I turn them off because, especially here at nighttime, I don't want the bugs forming a party around my camera. So I leave the infrared lights off, and I actually don't need them. And I'll show you later on in some of the videos I took at night why I don't need the infrared lights. Same thing with a spotlight. You can turn the spotlight on at night for higher quality color images, but I found that to be washed out. Again, it's probably because I didn't adjust the brightness properly when I was playing with it. So I could turn it down because it's just too bright. But when the things I want to see out at the street maybe are too bright or not, it doesn't really help this much at all. So I just leave it off. And again, I'll show you a little bit later why I did that. But you can set it to auto. Spotlight turns on when the alarm event is detected. That means that if somebody walks by and you get a motion or vehicle, it's going to turn the light on. Or you can turn it on as scheduled, and you can set a start and stop time. Again, I just have it turned off completely for now. And of course, you can get your camera information here. Now, surveillance has a bunch of options. You can record, and if you overwrite, if you run out of space, you're going to, and you can hear the camera in the background, by the way. That's the audio coming from the camera. You can overwrite if you run out of space, you just overwrite that. You can have pre-motion record, and I don't know how long this is, but it seems like it's maybe 5 seconds, anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds of pre-motion record. And then post-motion record is how long it records after the event. So if it sees motion and the motion goes away, it'll continue to record for 15 seconds after that. Now there's two settings to get this camera to record. you have to set up recording here in the camera itself. And then over here, there's some more settings that you have to set in order to have the system do recording. So we've got the camera set up to record. You can either do it on a timer, or you can do it on and you just kind of go over this section here and enable it, or you can go over it again and disable it. You can clear all or enable all with those. But under alarm, that means if you have any motion, a person motion or a vehicle motion, you just come over here, hover, or you drag your mouse over this, and then it turns it on. Let's say I don't want to record vehicle motion during the day because there's too much. So I'll come in here and maybe just from 6 to 6, I'll just erase all of the vehicle motion recordings during the day. And the thing about it is you can't specify individual motion detection stuff here. It's all or nothing. So I can't say I only want to record persons during a certain time and vehicles during other times. It's motion detection based on these 3 settings right here. So actually nothing will get recorded right here during this time because it's disabled. I'm just going to clear all of it or enable all, and now it's just going to record all the time. Again, I'll use Frigate for most of my detection, so this isn't a big issue for me. Under email settings here, you can send email to multiple people, and you can send a text with picture, text with video, or just a picture. And then you can do the interval on how often you want to send those when there's motion detected. And you can also enable these alerts based on a specific time. So you can turn it on or off based on the same window that you use for scheduling the other type of motion detection. You can enable FTP and again, send everything over to an FTP server. So it's offsite, for example. If you are doing some sort of backup of your recordings, you can send it to an FTP server. And what's nice about these kind of things is you don't necessarily need a cloud subscription to do this, because you can do all of this directly from the camera to your own stuff. Siren, you can set the siren when there's motion detection. I don't want to do that because I don't want the siren going off all the time. And then you can do push notifications to I believe it's going to be to the app on the phone. So anytime that there's motion, you'll get a push notification. And right now it's all disabled. I'm going to enable it all for person. And if there's a person there, I'll get a notification on my phone most likely. And then under network settings, you can set your Wi-Fi network with all this information. Under advanced, you can enable UPnP, enable UID, enable DDNS, and then you can do NTP setups for your time to synchronize your time on the camera. And you can set up ports for different types of services. So you've got ONVIF on this camera, RTSP, RTMP, and a media port. So you have a lot of different options for viewing stuff on this camera. And then storage gives you an overview of your SD card, how its storage space is shaping up here. And then under system, you can do user management, date and time, and then maintenance. And those are the things that you can do under here. So autofocus configuration, auto upgrade, and then you can set auto reboot times if you want this to reboot every day or every week or something like that. So those are the settings for the individual camera. We can go over here now and we can look at the settings for the client. Now that's this actual client that we're setting here. You can set it to run at startup. You can do automatic updates. You can add camera devices automatically. If you do stretch mode, it makes the picture stretch out on the screen. I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to turn that off. You can do an alarm beep, a lock screen password, set your language. There's a number of languages available here. And then your download path where it actually stores the videos and the pictures. And then you can get a system status here. That's all gibberish to me. And then under record, this is again the second place you need to set this. For the client itself to record, you need to have the record settings. Now, again, I want to do the clear, which is the highest resolution images. I want to post record for 15 seconds. The video file duration is 5 minutes. If you're doing 24/7 recording, it will take and make the video, it'll chop them off every 5 minutes and create a new video file. It's free text, so it doesn't give you an option to drop down. So you just kind of specify a time in there. Record videos going to this directory here. And then the max size for the video recording folder would be this size, 5 gig. And if it gets to that, if it gets bigger than that, it'll start overwriting files, and you get a low disk space warning at 1 megabit. And then again, the recording, you can have this client record during whatever window you have set up here. You can also set up this timer recording. So right now, if I enable this under timer, it will actually record all the time. So you have a choice of motion, which is the blue. And then if I specify this, now it's going to record 24/7 here, or record continuously. And it will record in 5-minute video file duration, or 5-minute video files. And then the rest of the time will only record during motion events. So I'll just put this back to motion. So that's the whole client in a nutshell for setting up the camera. Now you have some options down here. You have the ability to set an audio alarm, which is the little siren. You can turn on the spotlight manually. You can do what's called a clip. So I can take a picture of, or take a clip of this area right here, and it's going to zoom right into this little section right here. Or if I want to drag it over here, I can do that. I also can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out, or change the size of that clip area. So you can do that. And then you can set PTZ. Now PTZ is not true PTZ. You have zoom and you have focus. So I can zoom in 5 times. I don't know if you can hear that, but it actually, because it's a motorized lens, the microphone on the camera picks up that zoom motor working. And, you know, the focus is autofocus, but you can focus. What I found with this client is that if I zoom way in and it focuses way out of focus automatically, and I try to change this, it's a very fine focus, but either if I hold the button down here with the mouse, it's going to get way off. And if I hold it down here, it's going to get way off the other way. So there's a delay. And then I've got to try to get it back into where it was. So I'm just really playing with this a little bit at a time. And it's very fine focus, so you can get pretty granular with it, but you just have to keep clicking the mouse. You probably hear me doing that. But I'm clicking the mouse, because if I hold the mouse down, it's going to go past the focus point. I'm going to have to start again. So really, the autofocus is fine. I don't see a need to really focus by doing this. The thing about it is, now that I've gotten this zoomed in like this, I can't. Well, actually, I can. Let me see here. Okay, so here's what you can do. And this is where the focus. So you still have the full frame. You're not actually tilting the camera. You're taking a picture of a zoomed in area. So I am zoomed in 5 times. And I am, well, see what happens? That doesn't work. So what I can't do is maybe I can do it this way. That's just another way it zooms, but it's not focusing. So zooming in just kind of zooms in where the camera is pointed. I can't adjust. Oh, I'm already zoomed in all the way. Okay, hang on a second. Let me think about this a second. Now, once I'm zoomed in, if I have a clip area and I want to look at that a little bit more, all right, now I need to be able to focus that. So let me try to focus a little bit. See if I can read the letters on that trash can. I'm going to be very deliberate about my focusing here. Yeah, see, it's already going out of focus. But I can't get it to focus on the letters because it's just not quite good enough for that. That's going to be about as good as I can do. But as soon as I close this this clips window, then it goes back to my default zoom area. So then I have to zoom back out again. And there's no reset button. I don't know of any reset button that gives me back to default location. It's not a true PTZ camera. So you're not going to get the ability to move it around and follow anything else that's going along. You can just kind of zoom in on an area you're focused on. So this is good for just focusing on, like, let's say I had it aimed over here towards the truck a little bit more. I could zoom in on maybe the truck window or something if someone were standing right there. But let me get rid of that mask because that's kind of annoying. So set up my privacy mask. I'm going to go ahead and delete this mask. Save it. Let's see if I got rid of it. Yep. Okay, that's the other thing too. When you delete it from that privacy mask setup page, it doesn't go away on the privacy mask page, but it does go away on the camera view. So that's the overview of this. Oh, and let's talk about playback. So there's a couple things here. If you have more than one device here, you would drag your device here into the window and you pick your calendar date that you want to see your recordings in. And it's going to give you a little window down here to choose from. And you can start playing from the SD card. This is playing from the SD card on the camera, not on the computer. And it takes a minute for it to play. I don't know if it's loading this or whatever into the camera, but I've had issues with this client trying to get to play back. I think it plays a lot better on the phone app than it does on this Windows app. But again, I'm not going to use it this way. I don't like the whole SD card setup other than maybe for backup or something. I don't like relying on an SD card in a camera. Cameras sit outside, they get baked and all that other stuff. So what it's doing is it's saving all of my videos into a video file, like it was in that in the directory that we set up a minute ago. And I'm actually getting those here, and I can play those back. Let's see if I can resize this for you. I can play these videos back directly in VLC or something else. So it's from the client. It's storing all my videos on the computer here, so I can play those back if I want to. Once again, for the 20th time in the video, I'm not going to use it this way. I'm going to disable recording on the camera itself, and I'm going to use Frigate, which is my NVR, to do all of the work here. But it is a very clean and crisp video here for that. I'll show you some more video stuff here in a little bit. But for playback, it's hard and I guess you can zoom in with your mouse. You can use your mouse wheel and pick a spot here and start playing this spot. You have to hover over this line, and then you have to bring your little line right here, and then try to play it. There it goes. It's finally playing. But you can play this at 2 times. You can play it up to 8 times, although I don't know that it works real well above 2. That one's okay. And then we can just go through these video clips. And by the way, you can also resize that timeline by doing this. You can drag it all the way to max and get your timeline and see the different videos that have been recorded during that timeline. So again, this is coming directly from the SD card. So if you want to play from the SD card, you can using this client. Let's see if I can find one here it's just still even zooming in here. I want to start at the beginning of that. It's not an easy interface to go forward or backward in. This is a frame by frame view. And when it's playing from the SD card, I don't know if the camera is still active and recording either, whether or not it stops everything and plays these back so that you're losing your security while you're playing back stuff from the SD card. I don't know. You can advance frame by frame. And I guess this takes you to the next alert. Let's try that. Let me zoom back out here. I'm going to go right here and put the timeline marker there. Start playing it. And I'm going to click on this button here. Oh, see, now it only shows me people alerts. Yeah. Let's do vehicle alerts. Take off vehicle alerts. So these supposedly are all to get away, any motion, get away. So this is the only person. So you can filter these by type of event. So now this should be a person. And it's not going to be a person because it thinks the autofocus is making it think it's a person. But I will say that the detection has been pretty good. Even at nighttime, it's picking up vehicles, even vehicles that go by really fast. And in addition, it's also picking up people. It picked me up as I was walking around in the dark. So this is the interface. You can add new devices. You can lock the screen. And again, we talked about all the settings. You can download clips. So if I wanted to download a clip from the SD card on the camera, I could pick one of these clips and download it. The client's already doing that for me, so I don't need to do that. So that's the client by itself. Now what I want to do is I want to get into some of the videos that I've taken with this camera, both at nighttime and during the daytime, and kind of walk you through. We'll do a live play-by-play on some of the stuff I noticed about the camera So let's get to that, and you can see how this camera performs with real people. You've seen some of the vehicles going by now, and then also some of how it performs at nighttime with the spotlight, with the infrared, and then without it, especially in my environment. So over to some of the clips. Okay, so I'm going to take you through a series of videos now that I recorded with the camera and kind of talk you through some of those. Like I said, it'll be a little bit of a play-by-play here. So in this video here, we're just looking at cars driving by, just in a normal daytime usage. And you can see here, I'm running this at 30 frames per second. So as you watch the cars go by on this street here, you're able to see how clearly the cars show up in there. And of course, playing this back, you can get a good idea with that 30 frames per second, how well this works. And of course, in the background, you're also getting tree movement. You're getting other stuff. One other thing to note here too, is you're probably hearing the audio from the camera. So we have this camera here showing cars going by. This video is another video of cars driving by, or a car driving by. And again, 30 frames per second. And of course, if you had to stop this and look at and pick out details, you can scrub the video here. Now, this is all being recorded from that NVR app, and it's being saved in files on my PC based on those configuration settings we set up earlier. In this video, this is just me doing a simulated looking into vehicles. In residential use cases, you're going to be doing a lot of watching your vehicles and the driver or whatnot. And this is typically people come up and try to get into your vehicle this way. Also, you'll hear me talking to the neighbor next door and also hear me walking. So that's how good the microphone is working. So there I am walking up. This is the daytime video. So it picks it up pretty good. I'll show you another video here in a minute where I'm talking a little bit more. And in this video, I'm actually walking back up towards the camera. These particular videos were shot early in the morning, so you have daylight, but not full sun daylight. It's kind of cloudy outside and earlier in the morning, and you still get good quality resolution from the cameras. And in this one, you'll hear better me talking on the microphone. When you see me wandering back and forth aimlessly today, it's because I'm doing this. And really good facial recognition. I mean, this is just typical of a good quality camera. You'll be able to see faces and make out very specific details. And no problem at all with somebody identifying a person in a video if it comes down to that for this particular camera. All right, so those are some of the daytime videos. The daytime recording capability of this camera is really good. It's very crisp. It's HD. You know, you can get up to again, 2560 by 1920 resolution, I believe it is. But it's really good. It'll suffice for this kind of environment. It works well. We talked about zooming in, stuff like that. Maybe not so much unless you can aim the camera somewhere where you want to maybe zoom in and zoom back out. But keeping it static like this is probably what we're going to do most of. So let me show you some night videos now. In the night videos, I have a couple of different ways I did this. And I'll just go through these a little bit at a time and we'll talk about them. So this is this first video right here. What I want to talk about is cars driving by. Now, before you see it, I'll tell you that this video was shot with the default settings. So the max resolution, 15 frames per second, I believe. And then you have infrared turned on and no spotlighting. So this is actually running the infrared, and you can see on these taillights of these vehicles, this is not the lights on the vehicles. This is the reflection of the infrared from way back where the camera is sitting. So let's watch a car drive by, and you'll see what it looks like at nighttime and get a good idea of the resolution and detail. Now you see it kind of a choppy little bit. That's because it's 15 frames per second. If you come back and back it up, you can kind of make out the car. It's because it's running at 15 frames per second, it's not as crisp and clear, and it's dark, and you don't get any color because you're running black and white in a night mode on the camera. So the next video I want to show you is what I look like walking in infrared. So this is me walking infrared, and you can kind of see that I'm visible, but not super visible. And what you'll notice as I get closer is I'm okay here, but as I get closer to the camera, I'm going to get washed out and not be able to tell the face. Now you can kind of see the face here. Like if we were to pause it as I'm walking up to, and I'm simulating breaking into a car again, or looking at a car. If I pause it right here, I can kind of get some facial definition and kind of see what this person looks like. But as I get close right there, now you can definitely see that I'm really washed out. But, you know, if you're doing this to try to identify a suspect, you can take all of the images and whatnot that you've seen of this video and kind of build something that you can use. So for surveillance, this is probably going to work just fine. Now, as I got real close to the camera, it adjusted the white balance and it kept me from being so washed out. It took a little bit of time to do that. And I'm also walking pretty slow. Going by really fast, you wouldn't really see that much detail. But again, it looks pretty decent. This video right here, with just black and white and the infrared turned on, would suffice for most cases. And just looking at the image itself, it's nice and crisp and clean. And I can make out a lot of detail on objects. And for the most part, I can kind of see a person's face. Now let's compare that to what I look like walking up in color. Now this is me walking up in color. And I'm doing the same kind of thing. I'm walking up and I'm looking at the into the vehicles. Now looking at my face here, I get a little bit more definition because it's in color. And color adds a ton of detail. Stuff you may not be able to see otherwise in the video. Now, I'm still getting a little bit washed out there, but not too bad. But you can see me walking away here as well. And one of the things I'm doing too is I'm wearing mostly black again. So it doesn't afford a lot of detail on my clothing just because I'm wearing dark clothing. All right, let's look at what a car looks like driving by. And a car driving by here in color is going to give you a lot more detail. We can see here that this is a silver vehicle. It's a pickup truck. And it just gives you, and there's some trim there, but it gives you a lot more detail on what's in the video. So I like the color aspect of it, even if I don't get quite as crisp looking video, because some of the darker colors with movement aren't going to show up in a darker environment. I still get a pretty good indication because the color adds a lot to the video. Here's another car video of a car driving by, and it's in color as well. In fact, it's the same vehicle going back and forth. Probably wondering what I'm doing. Crazy guy filming from a ladder with a camera, or filming a camera attached to a ladder. All right, so there you see me turn on the spotlight. I did this manually on the app from my phone, and you'll see me come around the corner here. And this is going to give you an indication of what I look like with the spotlight on. Now, farther out from the camera, it looks better because I can see more of the color of my clothing farther out. And you see a bug fly in front of that frame. That's always a problem here. You're going to have bugs light up your camera and just get in the way of your video. So I'd prefer to have lighting and infrared turned off all the time because I don't need the bugs doing stuff. Now you see me turn it off. And I've got some street light or some headlights helping me here. But as I walk away, you can kind of see the difference. I'm not able to make out my clothing quite as much as I did with the spotlight on, but the spotlight doesn't really add anything much to the overall picture. Out here at the street, I don't really care as much as I care about being closer in. So getting closer in with the spotlight off and no infrared gives me enough detail to be able to see what I'm doing here. So let's see if I can find the video where I switch between color and non-color. So in this video, I switch between color and black and white. You can see me out here, right there. And you can see where it switched from color to black and white. Let me do that again. So I'm standing here. Let me go back farther. So I'm standing here and I'm switching it with the app. And I'm going to turn it to color mode. And there's the difference. You don't see a lot, but you do see more definition. One more time. Black and white. And there's color. it just gives you more definition, or it gives you more detail, right? My face is able to be, I still see my face just fine, even out here at the end of the truck, but I can tell color and other stuff, which is important in a lot of cases. So that's some video showing you how well the camera actually processes the video. In all cases where there was a video, that was a video that was triggered by motion, either vehicle or by a person. I didn't do any kind of just any motion recording, and it seems to have gotten every vehicle and every person walking by. There were a couple of videos I didn't show you of people walking by that it triggered even before I was out there. So it does very well with vehicle and person detection based on the camera itself. It works well, has great video, nighttime and daytime. Your use cases are going to be dependent on where you put the camera and what you're trying to view with it. If you're trying to view things like cars going by, you're going to want 30 frames per second. If you're trying to view people walking, you probably get away with 15 frames per second. The Wi-Fi, is which I'm running it on, using the 2 MIMO antennas, was flawless. In fact, I've got a different camera in the same location that I had to put on a wired network because it wasn't working as well as this Reolink does. So the Reolink works really, really well on the Wi-Fi. I'm out at the edge of my garage, and I'm sending a full HD signal, and it shows you the bandwidth on the app that when you're playing this. I was running at about 5 meg continuous from the camera to get the images that I was getting on there. So that's how all of that works. Gone through the settings, what the camera features are, and showed you quite a bit of the video that it produces. Now, the final thing I want to show you is I want to show you what I'm going to do with Frigate. Now, I'm not going to go into a full Frigate configuration. I am just going to go ahead and configure this camera in Frigate, and I'll show you the RTSP stream that Frigate uses. And then once I do that, we'll just kind of take a look at a couple of videos in Frigate based on this camera, and then we'll wrap it up. So let's get into Frigate, get that set up, and then show you how that works. So if you're not familiar with Frigate, Frigate is a software NVR that you can tie to a bunch of different cameras. And this is the current setup that I have right now. I'm running this within my home assistant, home automation environment. And it allows me to set a lot of settings here in terms of masks and motion detection and object detection and all that kind of stuff using the Frigate NVR. So what I want to do is I want to add that camera that I've been playing with, the Reolink camera, to my Frigate installation. Okay, so here is my configuration file. And again, I'm not going to go into detail with the Frigate installation or Frigate configuration. This is something that y'all can watch my other Frigate videos if you're interested in this. However, the one thing I do want to point out is the difference between the different cameras is you need to understand what the stream URLs are for your RTSP streams, and Frigate uses RTSP. This is the stream that you would, or the URL that you would use for a Reolink camera, probably a lot of the different Reolink cameras. So this is the difference between all of the rest of the cameras that I've already set up, is just changing this is changing this URL to match what the Reolink cameras are needing for you to see their RTSP stream. And I'll just leave the rest of this stuff as is. And now we can come down here and we can see that the camera has now been added. Let me take myself off the screen for a minute. You can see the camera down here. And of course, we'll have no events and no recordings yet because there's nothing there. I'm going to go ahead and open this garage door. It's actually inside the garage facing out to the street. And I'm going to open the garage door, and it probably will trigger an event potentially, but you'll be able to see that moving here in just a second. So if I go to cameras and I look at the live view for this camera, now we can see that we have a view in the front of this camera. And this is going straight from that camera into Frigate. And you can already see that we have a person tracked. So my neighbor's out doing some stuff, and it's tracked this person and created an event for the person. So if I look at events now and I filter on just the Reolink camera, you can see all these events that just occurred as the garage door opened and the neighbor started walking around outside. So right away, just by configuring Frigate with the information or the configuration that we have for our other cameras, it immediately puts it within our Frigate installation. And I've got it set up in bird's eye view now. So it's going to pick up any kind of detection, any kind of motion detection that this camera picks up. And you'll see some of these other ones pop up as well. So it's very, very, very easy to add this camera into Frigate, and it works just like all the rest of the cameras do. You'll see that all of this stuff is, all these cameras are up, and just adding this Reolink makes one more camera to my Frigate installation. Super simple, super easy to do. If you want more on the Frigate part of this, make sure you watch my Frigate videos. It talks about how I did all the Frigate stuff. Frigate is an awesome NVR. I'm using it in place of my Blue Iris setup now. Reolink also does have an NVR as well. So you can look at their NVR. Totally up to you on how you store this data. There's probably some cloud services from Reolink as well that you can set up. But again, this camera can do everything it needs to do locally on the SD card, on your local PC through the app that I showed you earlier, through FTP if you want to save it that way. And you can also get email alerts and stuff like that. Make sure you check out the Frigate stuff if you want to know more about that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope it was helpful. Love the camera. This is going to be a great addition to my setup. And because it's wireless, I can put it anywhere I want as long as I have power to it. The only thing I will say is I'm disappointed that it's not PoE capable, because most of my cameras run PoE. In fact, all of my cameras run PoE, and I don't have the ability to run a separate power line for them. Although you get a long power line extension cable with the kit or with the camera, so you can run it in a long distance if you need to. Ask me questions down below in the comments. Hit me up on Discord, and I will link this down below as well, this product. There is as of this video, a Black Friday sale going on, so make sure you're checking that out. The link for that is down below as well, and we'll see you on the next video.